Welcome back to this module of the Project Management Fundamentals. In this module, we will continue with looking at Planning Process Group, which is the second part of the Project Management Process Group. We talked about the first phase or process group or framework, which is the Initiate Process Group. And when you, as a project manager, have completely gone through that first phase of making sure there is a project charter that authorizes you to start planning and executing the project, then you come to the planning process group, which is basically consisting of processes that enables you to establish the complete scope of the project or the effort required, as well as define and refine what are the objectives and planning them out. And then you can develop the course of action that you require to be able to meet those objectives. In other words, this process group brings together all the different types of planning that you need to run the project. So when you have the project charter, you also have to define the scope based on that. What amount of work needs to be done? What are the features or functionalities for a product that you need? What kind of schedule that is needed. So you have to plan that as well. You have to also plan the resources, plan the cost and budget for materials and people. You also have to plan what level of quality and how do we get to that quality. And plan also how you want to manage risk or capture risks, identify them, manage them in the proper way. And you also have to plan how to communicate amongst your various stakeholders, because this is very important. So in managing a project and looking at the knowledge areas we talked about earlier in one of the modules, you need to plan around all that to enable you properly plan the project such that you can basically understand and guide your team to deliver as required. And this plan also helps you to monitor later on what you do when you start executing. So what is the main thing that you expect from this process group? Actually, what the main thing that you expect here is a project management plan. And basically you need input like the project charter, which you should have defined in the initiate process group. And also there would be output from other processes in the company, as well as what kind of environmental factors, policies, culture that you take into account when you do the planning or look into that. And what are the processes and assets, the tools? Do you have a project management office that helps you in managing or planning? You can also use that. And then you can look at what tools and techniques you can use in making a project management plan. You can use expert judgment from people who are familiar with such projects that can give you insight how to look at it and plan. And also data gathering using brainstorming, using a number of checklists to keep track, as well as using focus groups to gather data and interviews as well. There are also interpersonal and team skills, conflict management that you have to deal with, as well as meetings. These tools and techniques help you to gather information in a way that you can eventually, with the input, make a good, at least what you can call a baseline project plan that looks at the overall plan, how we start and how we end. And this is important to make clear to the team because this is something that most projects don't have. So people talk a lot sometimes, and what they don't see is an overall plan, both on high level, what are the expectations, what is the scope, how do we communicate, how do we manage risk, how do we, ensure quality is there, how do we test, can we just make a plan that we can know what to do at what point, and if something deviates or not going there, we can always review the plan because things change and update the plan with something new. And this is so important. This process group is so important because this is where you bring everything together before you even start executing, and you get a good level of assurance to be sure that when you start executing and when you look and monitor the progress, you can always make changes as required. Thank you for listening, and we will continue in the next process group in our next video.